Yo, Karma Nation, what's up, guys? Welcome to another Sunday stream, 1 p.m. Eastern Time as normal, with the NASCAR GOAT himself, Mr. Luke. Luke, how you doing today, my man?
I'm doing good. Looking forward to some good racing at Vegas.
So something I do want to just little housekeeping things that we do every time we do a stream of any kind. So first off, the name of the stream is How to Win $100,000 Today, because that is the lead contest, or the lead tournament, feature tournament, if you will, on DraftKings. 100,000 to first place. Utilize everything that DFS Karma has to offer. Will help you more than most other places to get you to that top spot. As you see right now, we're starting off by showing you on screen our industry-leading NASCAR lineup optimizer. They're sure everybody and their mom has an optimizer at this point. I mean, not as good as ours, but not many people have a NASCAR optimizer, so it's one of the few. That being said, we are going to be talking about the Pennzoil 400. I want to start off with a race/track specific strategy brain dump from you, Luke, as we normally do. So anything in particular in terms of any kind of like leaving salary on there, targeting people from the back, anything strategy wise, and then we'll start going into salary tier specific plays for cash and GPP. Now, at any point, if you leave this stream or hop back in this stream, you're like, man, I think I missed something. Every time we do a live stream, it is fully replayable. As soon as the stream's over with, you can go back, rewind. That's why we give you guys, a couple hours there before lock. And of course, we like doing these things live, specifically for NASCAR and other events like this, because it gives you guys the opportunity to ask questions to the NASCAR GOAT, Luke, as we talk about them. So that being said, let's go ahead and start off with your weekly Pennzoil 400 specific strategy breakdown, if you will.
So the Cup Series is going to be at Vegas this weekend. Vegas is your typical 1.5. There's 267 laps, so I'd say that dominator points are pretty important. In the past, we've usually seen like 2 dominators in the winning lineups, but with the new car, we saw a lot of great racing last week, so we could see some more of that this week, and that could lead to even more lap leaders. So we might want to target 3 dominators in tournaments, but Vegas is, it's a 1.5 mile track. It's about 30 seconds a lap. And I would say just target multiple dominators, and we'll get into it a little bit more.
And of course, whenever you mention a NASCAR DFS specific term, I always like to make sure that if we have anybody watching that's, maybe they're an NBA or college basketball guy, and they're like, you know what, Karma's, I like this group of guys. Let me try to get into another sport. Kind of explain to people what exactly the word dominator means when you're saying we're targeting 2 to 3 dominators.
So dominator, most people, when they hear the word dominator, they just think of the guy that's leading the laps, because that's kind of what it is. But DraftKings also scores a thing called fast laps, which for some reason they're more than laps led, because they're 0.45 per lap that the driver runs the fast lap, and 0.25 for laps led. So targeting the guys that are scoring those points give them higher ceilings. And that's why we want to target multiple of them in tournaments.
All right. So, I mean, dominators, as the guys that are going to be hitting these certain different scoring tiers, they're pretty much going to be the most expensive guys. So, and I guess how I'm taking that in is a 2 to 3 dominator lineup is, 3 studs and then a handful of, of the low mid to high low tier cheapos, if you will. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say most of the top tier guys are the quote dominators, but there are a couple guys in the mid tier that could be that third dominator, and that can open things up for sure.
All right, so let's go ahead and start talking about the top tier range. So in the top tier salary range, and when we're saying salary, we're referring to DraftKings salary. If he likes a particular driver that is an expensive driver for cash games or GPP or anything as we go along here, and you're like, man, I wish you talked about FanDuel. A lot of this stuff is similar to FanDuel, but if FanDuel for some reason or other has a completely crazy different driver with let's say they're mid tier on salary on FanDuel but top tier on DraftKings, hop in the chat, say, hey, what do you think about this for cash or GPP? Ask every single question you possibly have. That is why we do these live streams. But a lot of the stuff that we're saying for DraftKings is also usable for FanDuel as well, even though their scoring is not 100% identical. So top tier, who is your lock for cash games for the Pennzoil 400?
So in the top tier, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but you have to go with Kyle Larson. We just saw him win last week. He started like 13th. He got his way up to the front at the end. He won the race. He's just unstoppable at this point. Like Hendrick cars are always super fast, and he always finds his way to the front at some point. And he just feels like the easiest play on the slate. Obviously, things can happen. He can wreck, but I just think Larson's like the best play today. He's starting second, so he should be able to get out front early. And as long as he doesn't run into any trouble, I think he'll be in the winning lineup today. So Larson's my lock in the top tier.
Before we go to the top tier GPP, I did have a question for you. What is, in terms of the scoring between DraftKings and FanDuel, what is like the biggest difference that people need to pay attention to? So if you're talking about something for DraftKings, like I just mentioned, there's a lot of rollover from your DraftKings insight to FanDuel. But if there's one particular thing that people need to watch out for if they're solely playing on FanDuel, what is that biggest scoring difference?
So I would say there's two things. One, fast laps only exist on DraftKings. They don't on FanDuel, which means that lap leaders on FanDuel aren't as important. And the laps led are only worth 0.1 instead of 0.25. So we don't need to target like 3 lap leaders on FanDuel compared to DraftKings, which Dominator points mean a little more. And then for place differential on FanDuel, it's only half point compared to full point on DraftKings. So a guy like Kurt Busch on FanDuel starting 31st, I like him a lot on both sites, but on DraftKings he's a better play because play differential means more.
I gotcha. All right, so let's move on to your favorite top tier salary GPP play for this race.
He's below $10,000 on DraftKings, but I'd still consider him a top tier play just because I think he's way too cheap. But I like William Byron a lot today. I know he's had a lot of bad luck. His track history at Vegas isn't great, but these Hendrick cars are just fast. Like if you look at the practice data, he was second overall, and I think he was second in the 10-lap averages as well behind Larson. He offers some place differential starting 14th, and I just think eventually he's going to have one of those ceiling performances, and I think today is a good day for it.
And if you do already play on DraftKings and FanDuel and you want to get as much NASCAR action as possible, we have one of our newest partners that we partner with, I want to say back in August of last year for NFL season. They just launched a NASCAR product. And so this is Jock Market, which if you're in our Discord, I'm in these channels dropping plays for free, on a daily basis. I've never deposited on this site. So as you see my bankroll up there, it starts just by grinding free rolls and moving my way up. But that being said, this is so far different than what you do on DraftKings and FanDuel. If you have zero experience with Jock Market, just go to dfskarma.com/jock, put a hyphen there, MKT for market, jock-market. And that's where our how to play is. You can learn how to play. Doesn't matter what sport, just kind of the gist of what this is all about. But essentially, so I just starred William Byron there based on what Luke just told me for DraftKings. And so if I buy shares of William Byron, let's say he's going to cost, we're going to throw a number out there that might make sense, maybe like $6 a share, and he finishes with the most fantasy points based on Jock Market scoring. If he finishes with the most fantasy points out of all of the drivers today, then if I paid $6 a share for Byron, if he finishes first, that's $25 a share. So that means every single share made a $19 profit. If I bought 100 shares of William Byron, that is $1,900 in profit. Yes, you're not going to win $1 million. This isn't a million maker DraftKings kind of thing, but this is the easiest by a mile DFS platform to profit on, because you just need to get shares of one person if you want to. If they exceed their projections, if they finish higher than what the system is saying they're going to finish, then you make a profit. Easy as that. So yeah, if I got 100 of William Byron at $6, he finishes first place, I will have $1,900 in profit for this race. And that's my goal. So hopefully William Byron is that first place guy. Before we Before we even get to the mid tier, I asked this question at the end of the last stream, but now because I have this pulled up, who do you think is the best ROI play? So the driver that is I know you just said William Byron's going overlooked because XYZ, and you already went through that. Is there any other player besides him? I keep saying player because NFL and NBA is ingrained into my brain. Is there any other driver that is a more ROI proponent for this particular race? based on what their current projections are.
Yeah, I just want to see a little bit. Let's see. Scrolling a little more. I think where Alex Bowman is right now, I think he's a solid play on Jock market.
Alex Bowman?
Yeah.
So you think he's going to finish higher than 19th?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
In total, well, in draft jock market scoring anyway. All right, so Alex Bowman, I'm going to target, and William Byron, and we'll see what happens with that. Do you think, I know you like Kyle Larson, but do you think Kyle Larson is a lock to finish as the highest scoring driver for this race? Or do you like a lock in the sense where something has to go wrong for him not to finish first? Or is it not that kind of race?
It really depends, because with the new car, we saw a lot of like lap leaders last week, and that could happen again. But we saw just like last year, Larson was just dominating on the 1.5. So I would say he's the most likely, but it's not a guarantee.
Okay. So now I got a few questions hopping in on YouTube here. Beardcore Ben says, will Reddick need to score Dominator points to pay off his price?
I would say probably, because he's starting 7th, so he doesn't offer a ton of place differential. If you didn't see this already, Pockers tweeted on Twitter that Reddick's starting from the rear. So that definitely hurts him a little bit, but it might make him a better tournament play because he might fly under the radar. But with guys priced around him like Harvick and Kurt Busch starting further back, I don't think you're going to be able to get Reddick with a top 5 finish and he's going to be in the winning lineup. You're going to need him to either score some fast laps or get some laps led, which he's definitely capable of doing, as we saw last week.
All right. Nicholas also on YouTube says, there's no shot you can actually fade Kyle Busch and single entry GPP with that place differential potential. Can you?
I think you 100% can, because he's in a backup car and we don't know, like, obviously they put a lot of work into it. I saw a tweet that said like they put like 8 hours of work into the car. So that could be good. But we saw like last week, he struggled in a backup car, and that could happen. Again, he's starting 37th, so I get it. He's a safe play with all the place differential, but it's not a guarantee that he's going to be in the winning lineup, because a guy like William Byron, who's priced right around him, what if he gets out front and starts leading laps? If he does that, he's probably going to outscore Kyle Busch and be in the winning lineup. Kyle isn't going to be a guy that's going to score Dominator points today. You're just relying on the place differential. Now, obviously, he finishes around like 6th or 7th. He's going to be in the winning lineup. But if he finishes like 15th or like 12th, that's probably not going to be enough. So I wouldn't say he's a lock in single entry.
Okay, I just posted for everybody watching. Just posted in the chat. No matter where you're watching this stream on right now, the screen you were looking at beforehand, the Jock Market screen, where you just have to get shares of a player or driver and hope that they finish at a higher total projection than where they're projected to finish. That link is in the chat right now. So if you see it says create a free account on Jock Market, get $100 deposit bonus, and that is Jock Market. Now, when I say market, the actual website is abbreviated. So it's Jock, J-O-C-K, and market is M-K-T. So jockmkt.online. When you sign up, download the app, create a free account, use promo code Karma, get a $100 deposit bonus, and then you can do the same thing that I'm doing and target those 2 drivers that we just previously mentioned. Mid-tier cash play. Who's your favorite?
My favorite mid-tier cash plays, it's pretty obvious, but I like Kurt Busch a lot. He's basically the same play as last week. He started in the back, and then guess what? He was in the winning lineup. But the thing I like about Kurt is that he had good speed in practice. I think he was around top 10 overall in 10-lap averages. And he screwed up his lap in qualifying. He got loose in turn 1, which is why he's starting all the way back in 31st. It's his home track, so he's got that narrative going for him. And he won here in 2020. So I think Kurt's my favorite cash play on DraftKings and FanDuel in the mid-tier.
All right. And then, guys, I know we already had a few questions hop in the chat there, but do not hesitate if you have questions about anything. There's no question that is too dumb to be asked. Even if you could be a NASCAR 101 question, it could be anything. Just drop them in the chat, and then we'll get to them before the stream wraps up. But now let's move on to your favorite GPP driver in that mid-tier range.
In the mid-tier, my favorite tournament play, we already mentioned him on Jock Market, but I like Alex Bowman a lot today. I've said it already. If you read the article and final thoughts, I love the Hendrick card.
Shameless plug. The article can be read right now. He dropped it last night. DFSKarma.com. You can either, it's going to be on the home screen, or if you just want to click in the main menu, click on NASCAR, you'll see it right there as well. Free to read article. And then, of course, the final thoughts is part of the NASCAR DFS premium subscription, which you can just click on the Go Premium button to sign up for that, and you'll get instant access to all of our goodness. Continue with a shameless plug.
So yeah, my favorite tournament play in the mid-tier is Alex Bowman. Like I said already, I like the Hendrick cars a lot this weekend. They've all unloaded well, and they've all shown good speed in practice. Bowman is very hit or miss at times, but that's kind of the risk you're taking with a guy like Bowman. But when he does hit, his upside is very high. And I think on DraftKings and FanDuel, he's underpriced for that. And he's starting 13th, so he offers some place differential. And at his price, he doesn't have to dominate to make the optimal lineup. If he can finish inside the top 5 and score some fast laps, I think that'll be good enough to be in the winning lineup at his price. So I think Bowman's my favorite tournament play in the mid-tier. It might go overlooked. Okay,
so now we're going to the what I call the cheapo tier. Now, at the beginning of this this stream, you mentioned that we're targeting on DraftKings, 2 to 3 dominators, which means we're going to have to get some of the cheapo guys in there to make up for that salary. Now, do we have to go crazy cheap in order to fit 3 dominators, or can we still fit people in that aren't necessarily a salary sacrifice, if you will?
It really just depends on which dominators you go with. If you go with Kyle Larson and like Chase Elliott together, which is the 2 most expensive guys, then yeah, you're going to probably have to go down to the bottom. But if you do like Larson and maybe a couple of the 9 or 8K guys, then I don't think you have to go all the way down to the bottom. So it really depends on the lineup.
All right. So now let's get your favorite cash play for the cheapo range.
So for the value tier, my favorite cash play is probably Chris Buescher. I like targeting Buescher a lot at the intermediates. He's usually a top 15 driver when it comes to these races. He's starting back in 27, so he offers a decent amount of place differential. The only concern I have is that the Roush cars haven't shown a ton of speed this weekend, but I think Buescher's good enough where he can get this car close to the top 15 by the end of the race. So I think he's the safest cash play, and it'll probably be one of the higher owned plays in tournaments as well.
All right. And then, of course, the favorite cheapo for tournaments for today.
So I wrote him up in the article, but I like Daniel Hemric a lot today. I think he's going to get some ownership, but I don't think he's going to get as much with some of the other guys around him starting further back. But Hemric showed really good speed in practice. He was top 10 overall, and he was top 10 in the 5-lap and 10-lap average, which is a good sign for him. I know he's starting 16th, so it makes him a little riskier of a play. But he's cheap enough where if he finishes 16th, he's still going to hit 5x value. But he has the ceiling to really help get your lineups to the top. So I like Hemric a lot for value. And he ran the Xfinity Series race yesterday, so he's got some extra laps under his belt as well.
So I just pulled up the lineup optimizer here again. Now, the thing that if I sign up for access to this, so if I was just one of you guys that were watching and I signed up for access to the optimizer and I wanted to use it for this particular race, you can, if you see to the left of the names on the screen, there's a little lock icon. So if I'm playing a GPP, I'm going through and I'm locking in his favorite GPP play at the top tier. I'm locking in his favorite mid-tier GPP and his favorite cheapo GPP. And then with those 3 put in as locks, you click on that build lineups tool. And if you're doing, whether it's a single entry or 3 max, 5 max, 20 max, 150 max, you choose every specific detail of the type of tournament that you're entering. So it builds the best possible lineup for that tournament. But you just plug in those 3, click build lineups, and you can get 150 lineups made with those 3, with his 3 preferred GPP drivers in all of those tiers. So it's pretty beneficial to pay attention to the articles and the free articles in these free live streams we do. But I don't think we had any more questions. Hop in the chat. Let me check. No, I don't think so. So is there anything that we haven't covered that you feel like is important to address for this Pennzoil 400?
I would say just like, I think I mentioned it earlier, but I wouldn't really look a ton at like last year's data at like the intermediates, because the new car, it just doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel the same anymore. It just feels like last year was all about, who unloaded fast and who could, whose car was the fastest around the track. Now now like with this new car, it requires more driver talent. So it kind of puts more into the driver rather than just the car itself. So I would kind of ignore last year's data a little bit and look more at just like which guys have been fast in practice and which guys are more talented than some of the others.
Okay, and then do you happen to have? I can pull it up real quick, but do you happen to have any of the odds to win pulled up right now?
I don't have it right now.
All right, give me a second here. Let me go to DraftKings Sportsbook. I'll pull it up. Sure, you have the maybe not the numbers, but like the order of what the sportsbooks are saying, who's going to finish where. But I'm trying to pull the odds up real quick here, and then we'll get your favorite driver to win, and then your favorite driver to win based on like the craziest odds that you would bet on that has like some crazy outside dark horse shot. I cannot find. You already know who that is?
Yep.
All right.
He's on my betting card.
Oh, perfect. All right. So I just got it pulled up here. All right. So there's the odds for the winner. So who do you think is going to win this race?
I mean, if I would just say, most obvious pick would be Larson, just because, he dominated last season at the intermediates. We just saw him win last week. He's probably going to be in the fastest car. He's going to lead the most laps. So he's probably the most likely to win.
Okay. So if you had to pick someone outside of the top 5 odds, so if you're fading Larson, Logano, Elliott, Byron, and Blaney, you can't pick any of those 5. Who out of the rest of the field is most likeliest to win? Not even don't even look at the odds. Just what you know in the back of your head from your research. If we're not betting on Larson, Logano, Elliott, Byron, or Blaney, who are you splashing a few units on?
I think Christopher Bell, just because he showed great speed in practice, and he's starting first today, and that 20 car is really fast. So at his odds, I think he's a good play to target for betting. And yeah, he's starting on the pole. It's going to be hard because he's going to have to hold off the Hendrick guys, but he's fast, so I think he's got a good chance.
And then you could say based on the speed or based on whatever variables you want to put in here, the craziest dark horse that if just maybe like 2, 3, 4 things go right, like there's got to be a crash, knocks out people in front of them. There got to be this. They have to perfect pit time, whatever you want to say. The craziest dark horse based on odds that has an outside chance to win, but they do have to have a few things go their way in terms of fate. Who do you think?
Daniel Hemrick. It's just Daniel Hemrick. I mentioned him as one of my favorite tournament plays in DraftKings, but at 100 to 1, that just feels I think he should be like 60 to 1, not 100 to 1. But like I said, I think people don't realize that like how good this Colleague 16 car really is. I said he was fast in practice, and he got a top 10 last week after being 6 laps down, which is pretty impressive. I know there are a lot of wrecks, and he had some damage, but this 16 car is fast. And I think if something happens to like Larson or some of the Hendrick guys, then Hemrick has a chance to steal the win.
All right, we got one last question we're going to address here, then we're going to wrap this up. If you did jump in a little later and you feel like you missed on a few golden nuggets, all of our streams are replayable. So as soon as this wraps up, just go back, rewind, fast forward, and then catch all the parts that you missed. So the last question before we wrap up is from Roger on YouTube. Says, who is your best player on DK for a GPP that is 7,900 or less? Favorite GPP, DraftKings, 7,900 or less.
And it's funny because that's like a range I'm trying to avoid in my lineups, but
is 7,900, is that mid tier to you, or what is that?
It's like the bottom mid tier.
So the player, who did we just say for mid tier GPP? It wasn't Byron, was it? No, he wasn't mid tier.
I said Bowman, who's like the upper mid tier.
So he's a higher than 7,900. All right, so
yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead.
But yeah, I think my favorite tournament play below 7,800 would probably be I don't know how popular he's going to be. I didn't really put him on the final thoughts, but I'm starting to get a little interest in him. But I'm starting to like Eric Almirola a little bit just because he's starting 20th. He offers some place differential. And again, these races have been crazy. I could see a scenario where he just rides around in like 15th all day. And then just like with the chaos that happens, he could just end up P7 in the winning lineup. Like we just saw with Austin Dillon last week. He started like 16th and he was like irrelevant all race. And then I think he finished like 3rd and he was in the winning lineup. So sometimes you just got to take some gambles on guys and hope they pay off. And I think Almirola is one of those guys that's going to go on around and could pay off for you.
All right, looks like we had another question came in the last split second before we're going to wrap this shindig. Josh, YouTube, the lowest priced player you would play in GPPs. Just bare minimum, the cheapest guy you'd play in GPPs.
The cheapest guy.
Also, I want to interject that real quick. I don't know if this is new news or not, but I have the our NASCAR channel in Discord, which you're not there yet. You're crazy. DFSkarma.com/chat. Getting the free NASCAR channel. But 18 PSI ACR just said that Reddick is officially sent back to the back. Were you aware of that, or is that like new news?
I was aware of that. I mentioned that when I mentioned Reddick earlier.
I must have missed that part then. My bad. So yeah, so back to the cheapest GPP. Nothing to see here, kids. Nothing to see here.
So the cheapest I would go, it would probably be Todd Gilliland. If you're making like 150, I'd consider Cody Ware at the bare minimum, even though it's a really ugly play. He was optimal last year here, but Todd Gilliland probably be the cheapest I'd go if you're making like 5-10 lineups. He's probably gonna need a little bit of attrition to work, but he's starting 30th, so he offers some place differential. I'd say he's a pretty safe play, and he allows you to fit a lot of studs in your lineup. So I think Todd Gilliland would probably be the cheapest I'd go.
All right. So I am showing you on the screen right now. This is the free-to-read NASCAR article. He drops NASCAR Luke's list, which is a NASCAR DFS article that showcases his favorite plays. Similar structure to what we do on the stream here, but something that is available typically by the end of every Saturday for a Sunday race. All you have to do is go to dfskarma.com. This will be shown on the homepage, but you can also click in the top, the NASCAR, and that little top black menu there. Click on NASCAR, and it'll show you this right here. Click on that. Read all you want to. And then, of course, the last thing, I'm going to show you a quick flash screenshot. This is the final thoughts. This is where he picks his favorite drivers for cash, GPP, upside, and then he gives you a little blurb of why he thinks you should target them for this particular tournament. So that's part of the premium thing as well. That is time. We're going to wrap things up. Thank you for your time, Luke. Make sure you guys are inside of the Discord to share your winning screenshots when you plug all this stuff in and when it works out. And we'll see you guys for the next rodeo here on our YouTube or Twitch or Twitter or Facebook or wherever the heck you're watching this right now. Good luck, guys, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Good luck, guys.